Hello. So I'm trying to I'm doing my tea research, and I've written down all the things, and I thought, again, I don't know why I bothered thinking. There were only like 3 or 4 topics, but I have 6 chunkier topics and 2 small ones, and so I'm like, which ones do I do? And then which ones will I roll over till next week? And then, you know, more stuff is gonna happen next week. Why? But I can't fit them all in one video. It would be way too long. And I don't feel like filming 2 tea videos this week. So now I've got to choose. But I just felt like filming this. I don't know why. Anyway, Nigel we're playing. Look at him. Ooh, Nigel. He's terrible at, ow! This is how he plays fetch. Nigel, come here. He brings the toy, but he won't give it to you. See? To try to snatch it from him. Give it to me. Give it to me. Okay. Go. Ignore the laundry on the dining room table. But, and then here he comes. Nigel, where are you? This is pre-tea. Here's behind the scenes. It's so glamorous. Anyway, guess I'm going to have to choose a few and then go ahead and make my notes in film so I can be done. And I have to go to the grocery store. What do you think? You're not being helpful. Okay, this shaky camera work, I'm gonna leave you. Nigel, I gotta get my laptop here. Can you do the introduction? Can you do the introduction? Welcome to this week's version of Book Community. Say it. No, Book Community, where we keep you what? Abreast? Okay, you can't do the intro. Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. Nigel, if you can see him, is here, and welcome to another installment of Book Community, where I try to keep you abreast of the goings on in the bookish community, which seems to be increasingly harder every week because I just can't catch up. Like every week I'm like, I'm gonna roll those topics over to the next week, and then more stuff happens, so I'm doing my best. Thank you for bearing with me. Your toys are back there, sir. Back up. Sit down! Boy, if you don't... Boy, get out of my blanket. Oh my God, you're stuck. You're raggedy. Oh my goodness. You are so ghetto, Nigel. I'm sure you've seen that 6 of Dr. Seuss's titles, or they're not going to publish anymore. So there'll be ceased publication and licensing of 6 books that are deemed racist. And they are... And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, McElligot's Pool, If I Ran the Zoo, Scrambled Eggs Super, On Beyond Zebra, and The Cat's Quizzer. I have never read any of these, but they all have different like racial stereotypes, imagery, words in them. And so of course conservatives are mad about it, but if you saw that, it's not all of his books, it's just those 6. So I just thought this was, I don't know if funny is the word, but I'm gonna say funny that, so Robin DiAngelo, who wrote White Fragility, which was a huge title last year, especially when everyone was saying, and I say everyone, non-Black people were like, I'm gonna buy anti-racist titles and things to read so I can educate myself, and White Fragility was one of the biggest ones. And Robin DiAngelo is a white woman, and so a lot of people, there was discourse, anger, a lot of things happening around it. There was like, I think, a read along with White Fragility on BookTube last year, and people got upset. Anyway, I didn't read it, but she has another book coming out called Nice Racism: How Progressive White People Perpetuate Racial Harm, which is funny because there also is an article from November of 2020 that said white fragility author, so Robin DiAngelo, paid more for university speaking gig than black counterpart, receipts show. So in the article, it says that she was paid 70% more than her black counterpart for speaking at the same university, University of Wisconsin. So DiAngelo, was paid $12,750 for a keynote speech last month at the university's annual diversity forum. Her fellow keynote speaker, author Austin Channing Brown, was paid $7,500 for her speech. The receipts show. And they both have the same speaking agency. DiAngelo's book calls for white people to examine their role in structural racism. So she declined to make a comment about this disparity in pay, but in the summer she told NPR, "In that way we can say that nice white people who do nothing further to challenge racism are racist." So that's ironic. That's funny because she said that. Now she has a book called Nice Racism: How Progressive White People Perpetuate Racial Harm. And here she is, at least not even making a comment on the disparity in pay at the same event, at the same university, that she is a white woman versus a black woman about a diversity panel got paid. And so someone was asking, like, what's the issue? And this tweet was, the issue is when found out she had no comment. A true anti-racist would have had several things to say. Even while waiting to verify a statement, could have started with "if true" and ended with her using her privilege to rectify the problem. This is an issue. So I don't know who had control over the pay, if they were represented by the same agency, if it was the agency, if it was the university, if they negotiated for their pay, but at least make a comment and a statement, showing an example. Like, here is a prime example of a time where she, as a white woman, could have spoken up and made a comment about the disparity, and then she didn't. So I just find that funny, granted what she's writing about. So I mean, she's writing for white people anyway, but I had considered reading it just to see what it was about, but I have no desire to do that, and that's back. So last week in Book Community Part 2, I talked about the Own Voices hashtag and how publishing has kind of morphed it into kind of being a negative thing, kind of trying to use it as like a major selling point of the book. And I talked about it in that video. I'll link it if you want to go watch it. So the conversation continued, but this time it was surrounding Aiden Thomas. And apparently people are upset that their new book isn't Own Voices. So the tweet I saw was, if you're mad about Aiden Thomas's new book not being diverse, ask yourself why you're only willing to support a marginalized author when they're putting their own pain and trauma on the page. Marginalized authors don't owe you Own Voices books. Support their art. This tweet is mostly aimed at white queers because that's who I've seen talking about this the most. As a fellow white queer, I'm asking you to examine why you only value books by marginalized authors when they have queer rep. Other perspectives deserve to be told as well. Also, the idea that this story can't have come from a personal place if he didn't write about his own marginalized identities explicitly. People are more than those, right? So Aiden Thomas is a newer author. They are queer, trans, non-binary, Latinx. Their pronouns are he, they. So their book that came out last year was Cemetery Boys, which has like a trans brujo in the story. And so it got a lot of acclaim. I still haven't gotten to it yet, I know. And they have a book coming out this year, or I think it's even this month, and it's called Lost in the Neverwoods, which it's like a Peter Pan reimagining. So the blurb on Goodreads said, when children go missing, people want answers. When children go missing in the small coastal town of Astoria, people look to Wendy for answers. So it talks about Wendy, her two brothers who went missing in the woods. When the town's children start to disappear, the questions surrounding her brother's mysterious circumstances are brought back into light. So like I said, Peter Pan, like reimagining. And so I guess since the description doesn't have anything about a queer character or a trans character, people are upset. And like, I guess that Aiden isn't, or invalidating Aiden's right to write this story, which makes no sense. So that's just a way, again, that the Own Voices has kind of been taken in the wrong direction, because it literally was used as a tool to show readers that, hey, this story was also a shared experience by the author, but that doesn't always have to be. Just like we've said, so if you're a straight person, a cis heterosexual person, and you read a queer story, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're queer. And then if you're queer, doesn't necessarily mean every book you write has to have queer characters. It's just it's just a lot. And I just thought that was super weird when I saw that people were even making those comments, which I didn't see any tweets about or against Aiden Thomas. I just saw that one, and then other people speak about it, like Ren Shapeko said, so only yesterday we said own voices is used to weaponize authors over what they can or can't write, and now white queer is proving my point by telling an author can only write their trauma and nothing else. This is why I emphasized bi POC authors. Some of y'all never been allies. How lucky I'm not seeing names. White authors slap brown faces on their covers and write POC protagonists, and y'all fine with it as long as they're queer, but this is what you demonize, you little shits. I love how feisty that Ren gets, but some of y'all don't understand that the priority should always be to support marginalized authors. A lot of y'all will support all these books featuring POC written by white people because they're diverse, instead of supporting people who actually exist. Wait, there's one more. So what I'm taking away from this discourse is some of y'all only value marginalized authors if they write books that fit your expectations of their identity. Am I reading, seeing this, processing this correctly? No, honey, that's not it. So just keep that in mind when you're reading stories by marginalized authors, that you shouldn't just have a set expectation of what they should write, but you still should support authors of all. You should support authors of all diverse backgrounds, and that is how you truly diversify your reading, but stop expecting a certain thing from a person just because of their certain lived experience, is what I'm getting from this. Okay, friends, we're back. Obviously, it's different. It's nighttime. I'm using a ring light, so I hope this is okay. I don't know where my glasses are. Anyway, earlier I filmed my video, but then as I was editing it, I didn't like a certain part, so I'm refilming that. So that's why you're seeing this different setup in the middle of your video. Okay, so I wanted to mention this. This happened a couple weeks ago, but I saw it on Twitter from Sourcebooks. So I think Sourcebooks is an independent publisher. I don't think they're a subsidiary of a Big Five, but I could be wrong. Let me know. But they tweeted, "Welcome to the Sourcebooks family, E.L. James. We share a belief in women taking and keeping control of their own narrative. Read more about it here or sign up to receive more news from our new imprint." So the tweet has a graphic and it just says, "Every woman has a story." So most replies under it were, "Yay, really excited." But I noticed, and other people noticed, the verbiage about women. So their press release says, "Sourcebooks launches dynamic new imprint. E.L. James joins as keystone author. Female industry innovators make history via disruptive joint publishing model that will change the way women create, publish, and share their stories." So Sourcebooks, the largest woman-owned publisher in North America, welcomes iconic author E.L. James to its list as part of an innovative new imprint. The deal encompasses James' entire backlist, including the global phenomenon 50 Shades trilogy. Her books will be distributed by Sourcebooks beginning at midnight on March 31st, 2021. She said that she's thrilled to be joining the Sourcebooks family. "It feels like I'm coming home, returning to my indie roots." So the new imprint will be focused on entrepreneurial women authors who want to benefit from all that a top publisher has to offer, including powerful retail relationships and deep distribution channels. This new unconventional approach allows established entrepreneurial authors to take greater control in the creation, development, and marketing of their books. So we share a belief in women taking and keeping control of their own narrative. It's so exciting to be embarking on this journey, disrupting the industry by empowering women authors who have long deserved this opportunity. The new model is a result of the ongoing successful and productive partnership between Sourcebooks and Penguin Random House, which holds a 45% stake as a collaborative investor in the independent publisher. As part of this agreement, Penguin Random House will retain audio rights to James's back and front list and large print rights to James's back list. So when you click on the link to sign up for the newsletter, it takes you to this page that has the top that's black, pink, and white. We are bold. Every story is a celebration. We'd like to keep in touch with you about a dynamic new imprint that will change the way stories are created, published, and shared and seen. Readers are at the heart of our story. So it's all black and pink. We are inviting readers and influencers to take part in the creation of this new imprint. We believe in owning and taking control of your own narrative. We believe that in our writing lives and through our reading, we are empowered by finding community. We celebrate authors whose books have forged new paths in publishing and all the readers who have supported them in their creative journeys. As with all Sourcebooks list, readers can expect breadth and diversity. With stories that celebrate the relationships and self-discoveries that drive personal and emotional growth, these books will be fully inclusive of gender, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, religion, national origin, age, and ability. The imprint will encompass romance as well as adult fiction and feature stories that redefine what it means to have a happily ever after. So someone under the original tweet from Sourcebooks did ask, so this imprint is for women only, trans and non-binary and male identifying romance authors need not apply. And Dominique, who is the founder of Sourcebooks, said, good question. Nope, that's not our view at all. Open to all. The imprint will be larger than romance, but definitely adult fiction. It is inclusive of romantic fiction with a focus on relationships. All interest is welcome. We're just starting out. Hope that helps. And they replied, thank you for the clarification, because it's written with this graphic, it looked exclusionary of non-cis women, which it does because it's very like pink. Oh, I hate it. I do not like, I say that as I'm wearing a pink shirt, but like hot pink. I really don't like it, okay? I feel like this is more like salmon, okay? So I saw ST Gibson quote tweet this and said, I can't believe I'm going to quote tweet on God's own internet, but this is the press release. The language around this business model and who it's meant to serve seems super vague to me and raises some flags. I'll be watching developments on this one closely. And I did look at Sourcebooks Twitter and they haven't said much since they released that. And Courtney Milan also added in, like, the main reason you should provide at least basic details in your press release is that you will avoid everyone trying to speculate to your enormous disadvantage about what is actually happening behind closed doors. Nobody believes that this is supposed to be for savvy entrepreneurial women, because otherwise they would have mentioned the incredibly exciting terms that would make entrepreneurs sit up and take notice. This may be error, but usually when someone just tells me how great something is in vague terms but doesn't actually give me details, I get super suspicious. Or as Bailey Sarian would say, suspish. And Courtney also said, I feel like before you can say you're disrupting, you should have to say what you're disrupting and how you're disrupting it. It just seems like a really weird press release that it looks very catered to cisgendered women, and they tried to make it all like pink and white, and I hate it. Some of the quote tweets, one was, okay, for real though, I have so many questions about the E.L. James imprint beyond the whole how and why thing. First and foremost, what does the bit about women taking greater control over the creation, development, and marketing actually mean in practice? Which is a great question. And someone did comment, Sourcebooks, why the gender exclusionary language here are people who identify as a gender other than women, not welcome in this imprint. And sure, like I said on the website, it does say that they are, but it's weird that they're framing like their main advertising of it in that way. I just wanted to throw this in here because I saw some people sharing this, and it's from the Shadow and Bone adaptation on Netflix that comes out next month. And so they tweeted, like the Shadow and Bone Twitter account said, for all artists whose skills could make even the most talented map makers envious. And so it says, summoning the Grishaverse, you are being called to bring your favorite characters to life with fan art. You'll have a chance for your art to be featured in exciting upcoming Netflix promotions. Create an original design inspired by the Netflix original series Shadow and Bone that you believe worthy to hang in the little palace. Post your masterpiece with hashtag Grisha Art to enter for a chance to win this most esteemed honor. And then of course they have a link to the official rules and all the small print. So one of the things in the small print that maybe a lot of people wouldn't read says prizes. Those who submit their art to the contest may, at sponsor's sole discretion, be included in a sponsor's virtual event for Shadow and Bone. Subject to compliance with these rules, the winner will receive 1 free year of Netflix and may, at sponsor's sole discretion, be featured on the title page for Shadow and Bone on the Netflix service and or in the Shadow and Bone virtual event. Sponsor may, in its discretion, endeavor to credit participant, including through social media or on submissions, but by participating in the contest, participant expressly consents to sponsor's use and modification of the submission without credit or further compensation. For the avoidance of doubt, sponsor is not required to include any credit on the submission itself and may edit such submission as it sees fit, including to remove any such credit included by participant before using such submission as contemplated herein. And that's always a thing with like art contests. Like you can submit and win, and sure, you might win whatever prize or that they say you're going to win, but then they usually are able to take the right of your work and use it without crediting you and or paying you going forward. So a lot of people raised how they felt about that. Some of the tweets were, how about commissioning and paying artists instead? Not bothering to properly compensate artists is not a cute look. Shadow and Bone. Someone said, this is some of the most predatory shit I've seen in a while. No financial compensation for the winner, and the rules state that the sponsor is allowed to modify the artwork and remove credit for a chance to win this most esteemed honor. Are you kidding me? This is disgusting. This tweet says, if I can rub two ashy nickels together and still afford to commission artists with my minimum wage job, I'm sure you can afford to credit and compensate artists instead of stealing their work, credit, and creative liberty. Two ashy nickels. Oh my gosh. And so people were echoing that, you know, same thing Courtney Milan added. Among other things, it feels like there's huge downside liability for Netflix if people submit other people's art without permission, which is an excellent point. Who would know? I did see that later the Shadow and Bone Twitter replied and said, Grishaverse, we hear and value the concerns you've raised. We apologize to any who felt their time and talent was disrespected. We're ending the contest and will not use any submissions. We hope to celebrate your creativity in other ways. Thank you for summoning the light on this. Oh, that's real fucking cute. Like, why in the contest? Because you can't get someone's art for free. Why not just change the terms and actually change it to they get to be credited and they get to be paid? Instead of saying, nah, we don't want to do it. Y'all don't want to give us your art for free? Psh, scratch the whole thing. Like, what? It's real ghetto. Rub together two ashy nickels, Netflix. Y'all got the coin. Y'all got that money. So Daniel Green is a super popular booktuber, one of the largest creators, and he is releasing a novella this month, I believe. And so he's already sent out ARC copies to whomever he decided to. It's called Breach of Peace. It's a fantasy novella, and I think it's the first in a series. If you don't know Daniel Green, he, like I said, is a really large booktuber who primarily reads science fiction and fantasy and talks about those books and fantasy news. So he sent out the art copies to people that I think that he's talked to in the science fiction fantasy community who are also reviewers for them to review it early. And one such person was this gentleman who gave the book a 4-star review, but they just had a critique about a certain thing in the book. So the blurb for the book says, when an imperial family is found butchered, officers of God are called to investigate. Evidence points to a rebel group trying to stab fear into the very heart of the empire. Inspector Khalid begins a harrowing hunt for those responsible, but when a larger conspiracy comes to light, she struggles to trust even the officers around her. So it's a fantasy with fantasy police, essentially. And so there was a 4-star review. This story gets into authors in reviewer spaces because now Daniel has crossed that line in reference to his book specifically to an author, and he crossed into reviewer spaces re his own book. So the review, however, they had a critique about some aspects that didn't work for them. So they said, with that said, there were some aspects of the novella that didn't quite work for me. This is a world wherein which the characters are all police working directly for God. So I guess this is a quote now. Children didn't grow up wishing to be soldiers, but officers. Since their founding, the Capitol Police had been a force for good in the community. Those who had been among the first to join were all heralded as local heroes. So the reviewer says, yes, this is a fantasy world, but most of us reading this novella live in a world where glorifying cops comes with quite a bit of baggage. There's also an uncomfortable attitude of violence solves problems and how the book talks about the interactions between police and civilians. Quote, in a pinch, police could usually count on help from armed bystanders. The reviewer goes back to say, I've never been a fan of the mentality that the best way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Again, this is fantasy and edging toward the grimdark side of the genre at that, but this line took me out of the story and made me question its inclusion. Quote, disobeying an officer of God during a raid was punishable by death. Khalid pulled her trigger. So the reviewer said, putting me into the perspective of a cop who shoots people in a surprise raid is not what I was expecting in this fantasy story. Again, it's hard not to draw real world parallels here in a genre considered by many to be a temporary escape from reality. So that was just part of the review. And here is where Daniel crosses the line from author into the reader reviewer space because he commented on the review and said, I totally see and understand your concern around the portrayal of police in the real world reflections. I really wanted the reader to struggle with liking these characters who, while they are the protagonists, are also religious cultist police. An idea that should terrify anyone, literal religion police. I wanted there to be clear systemic issues with the policing because I do believe cops in an empire like that would absolutely have power that goes well above and beyond what is appropriate, and the officers believe they should use it, as their religious convictions and elevated status in a society is a very dangerous combination. I can see how I probably should have stressed the vileness of their actions more at times, but as I was writing from the police's perspective, they would not have seen it that way. It's a tricky balance with the setting I am placing myself. Again, thank you for your honest review. I really appreciate it. I hope it is not inappropriate for me to respond like this. It is. I have just been preaching for a long time now that creators and reviewers should be able to have a dialogue. Please feel free to respond. I would love to know how you think I could have reframed this dynamic better. And the reviewer respond, hey, Daniel, I'm happy to have a dialogue on this. First of all, I'll say that my reviewer intent was not to drag you or your views. Any critique is entirely of the text alone. They said, I think when you center a story around police, fantasy or not, there are going to be people who cannot separate the fiction from reality, which is totally fine. There are many topics that make people uncomfortable due to the context the reader brings with them to the story. Authorial intent, unfortunately, doesn't affect an individual's reading experience. I don't know if stressing the vileness of the characters' actions would have changed anything since, as you say, the POV characters would just be viewing more vile actions as justified. I don't necessarily have a solution to propose. My job as a reviewer is more to respond to the text than to suggest changes. I don't know if they meant it that way, but I'm like, that was a subtle read.
Read, honey, not read. There's a difference.
So he wasn't rude or anything in his reply, but when you had to ask, I hope this isn't inappropriate. It is. Do not I've brought this up in multiple videos with varying responses from authors, and you just don't. You do not cross into reader spaces. And I know that he is a reader reviewer himself, but this is about his book, so he needs to leave that alone. And so someone shared this on Twitter and they saw the parts and they're like, you know what, this and, you know, the state of the world, I'm probably not interested to read this either. And so then he made an entire video about it. So the video on his channel says authorial intent and freedom is important. I don't know where the fuck freedom came from. Also, the whole not pro murder. Duh. Come on now. But he's basically talking about authorial intent versus what the reader perceives or the reader or what the reader gets from reading it. And as I've learned in my short time being here on YouTube, that intent does not equal impact. And so yes, you might set out to mean something a certain way, but people are still going to interpret their own way, whether you explain that or not. And you making this video talking about authorial intent is not going to change people's perception of how they read it, especially in the year of our Lord 2021. All we have experienced writing a story focused around police is going to have some people feeling some type of way. Not everybody, but some people, fantasy or not. That's just the fact. I'm not even talking about the content of the video itself, because he says the criticism is valid and that's great, whatever. The video shouldn't exist because now he has crossed over to being an author. So about his book, he should not be going to read people's reviews, comment on them, and then make a video in response to it. Okay, I'm sorry you're getting this late night grainy video, but I just wanted to insert. So I went back and I was like watching this video again. I don't know why I'm torturing myself, but he says that he talks about the original review where they talked about portrayal of police and how they didn't like that. And then Daniel says then there's been a discussion or comments around that where literally I saw one tweet and saying that the people are saying that he clearly believes this and that, you know, he believes in police having this power. And he says no. But the tweet just said that it appeared like he was glorifying police. But no one said, yeah, I definitely think he has this ideal. And then he also said multiple, and maybe he has screenshots, but literally, you know, I bees on Twitter, okay? I stays on Twitter. I saw one tweet about that book. One. And on Goodreads, there's one written review, the one that he read. So I find that weird that he's saying multiple. And I also clicked on this review from someone else, and they start out their video with, so many people are saying that Daniel's pro-police and supports police brutality. Where are you getting this? Where are you getting this, so many people? And then under Daniel's video, he does have a pinned comment that said this was a minority of comments. Again, maybe he has screenshots that show multiple. I literally saw one comment besides the actual review he's referring to. So I feel like that's a bit much, a bit disingenuous to blow it up, to make it seem like it was more than it was, so it justifies your video. Like, I don't like it. I don't like that. I just think that crosses the line of the space are reviews are for readers and you stay on this side. But I did go back because, so in 2019, towards the end of the year, this is obviously before I was making tea videos, Sarah Dessen, who's a popular YA author, took something out of context and like blew it up on Twitter, and all these authors like jumped in on this person because somebody didn't want to select her book for like a book club at their college or something. So he made a whole video saying like, this is not how you respond to criticism. This is not how authors should be. Like, one quote from the Sarah Dessen video was, how insecure do you have to be in your genre that you feel this is the proportional response? There are less people who will take you seriously now. And obviously he was speaking specifically towards Sarah Dessen being in her feelings because she felt like they didn't choose her book because it was a young adult book, which is not a genre, it's an age range. But anyway, that quote, but still saying how insecure do you have to be to make this kind of response. So how does that not relate to this, that you have to go into a reader space and then make an entire video on it? Just leave it be. Like, I don't know. I just don't like that. Then he later had a video, October of 2020, about Steven Erikson, who's the author of the Malazan, whatever fantasy books. And Steven Erikson, he loves to be up in reader spaces. He just sits at home on the internet. So he had a rant on Facebook, which I tried to read, but it's so goddamn long. I was like, I'm not even wasting my time. And I've just heard things about him as an author. Now he likes to like go on people's videos and basically mansplain what they didn't understand in his fantasy book, that I have zero desire to read that series. Like, I'm done. I don't have time. So anyway, he went on this rant. So then Daniel made a video about that. Now, the Sarah Dessen situation and the Steven Erikson situation are different, but they still have similar things because it is in general talking about authors' responses. Anyway, Steven Erikson, I know he's a big whatever Malazan fan like Daniel is. So he made this video in October that said, Erikson's rant, he was right. So he went on this whole big rant, I guess, about people and how they're reading his books or whatever. Like I said, I didn't read it. So while he did acknowledge and agree that maybe it was a bit much, that he was, you know, kind of condescending, kind of aggressive in his message, that overall he felt it was genuine and that he respects Steven Erikson for doing this. And, Daniel's point was that he hates that the discussion around books ends with the reviews, that most reviews are basic. So essentially you review a book on your platform or maybe on Instagram or something, people comment, you may talk with them in the comments, and that's it. He thinks it should be taken a step further and that the author should enter that conversation. And I'm like, no, that conversation is for like an author interview. You can get into deeper questions there, or if they're at a panel or something, but the author is not expected, or I wouldn't want the author coming up in my space every time I'm talking about a book they wrote. That makes me uncomfortable. So he also said like he relates to Erikson because obviously he's a content creator. He gets negative comments, like so do I, but that doesn't mean I want to invite authors to comment on my reviews. But he did say that no author has the right, you know, to tell a reader they're wrong about how they feel about a book, which is very true. But he said he thinks it's valuable for the author to talk about why they wrote the things the way they did, like explain the intent, the authorial intent. And that's valuable for them explaining their intent, what they tried to do, and that readers could benefit from that, from hearing that, because maybe that would change their perception on what they read. And I just don't agree. And he said he's always going to defend an author coming forward and doing something like this, because he said maybe they were overstepping, especially if they're not tactful, but at least they're stepping. That line was something. And he also said, I think, this is a direct quote, I think it should become a much more normal practice for authors who can stomach it or have the desire to look at reviews, analyze them critically on their own, and maybe respond now and then. Why shouldn't they be able to contribute to the conversation? No, that is such a dangerous precedent to set. And is he like the biggest YouTube channel? No, but he is a very highly watched. A lot of popular authors have talked to him, or he's done interviews with them. It's just a weird thing to say you want to set as a standard for authors to make it normal to go in and start commenting on reviews. And no, because sure, some people will have tact and have positive things to say and others will not. And I just think that would just be an uncomfortable, unequal balance, and I don't like it. We have already seen people get butthurt on Instagram when they're not even tagged. Stuff from Goodreads on Twitter. It's not good. Let readers have their space. The reviews are written for us. The author, like, you stay over there. And he said, like, I would pay money to see well-established best-selling authors come out and respond to criticisms to their style. And I think no. And so I think that commenting on specific reviews, whether that's on like Goodreads, on a blog, on YouTube, is a no-no. Even though Steven Erikson does that, he comments on people's YouTube videos. Now, it's different if maybe you are reading reviews from critics, from bloggers, whatever, and you're hearing a theme about something that's really big in the book that is being totally misrepresented, or maybe it's a criticism that you need to change on how you portrayed a character or something. Like, sure, maybe you can make a general statement about how you're going to do better or something, but do not go into individual reader reviews and respond that way. That's not productive. I don't feel like that's productive at all. I don't think it's wise to tell authors that not every review, but you should go in and start. I don't even think it's a good idea for them to go in and read reviews anyway. Like, not a good idea. Like, you should be getting feedback from your team and not these people down here, because reading is so subjective. Everyone's going to interpret it differently depending on their life experience that they have, the place they're in right now. I just do not think that is a good idea to encourage authors of any size to get into the habit of reading reviews, analyzing them, and then coming in to do a response. I think that is not a good idea at all. And so he obviously said that in October. And so now himself as an author, he's like, well, I've built this up. Like, I have a history of saying that I'm okay with authors and reviewers having this dialogue. He also made a question. He said something like, it would make it easier for me or make it more comfortable when I interview authors to know, you know, they've looked at their criticism and I would feel less awkward asking them. And I'm like, they don't need to start commenting on reviews and everything for you to ask if they've heard any criticism. You could just ask in an interview. And if some people probably are like, no, I literally do not read any reviews. I know that's not a good thing. And then you could bring up, like, here are some general criticisms of the book, blah, 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 and talk about an interview. I haven't interviewed an author, so maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but I just feel like that whole idea is weird. I don't like it, because that would just make me not want to review books if I knew the author was always watching or like gonna come in and could comment, because I don't talk about books for the authors. I talk about them for people like me who read books for pleasure, to put on YouTube if you want to do on your blog. But I'm not reading Brandon Sanderson and talking about Stormlight Archive with him in mind. No, I'm not doing that. It's so weird. I don't like it. And he said that, like, when he said I would pay money to see authors respond, and he was like, he would respect that more than continual silence. Now, sure, if something problematic keeps getting called out in your book, and you know you have a harmful portrayal of a certain type of people or person or whatever, and you don't make a general comment about it like, hey, I've heard the criticism, I'm going to change it and do better, or you change it in your stories going forward, sure. But every single thing that people don't like, every time someone's talking about the pacing or a character, they're supposed to work up and write a little essay under someone's Goodreads review? Maybe I'm looking too far into it. Actually, no, I'm not, because that's what he did. He went to a Goodreads review and wrote his little paragraph and asked for feedback. Like the reviewer said, that's not his job. That's what you have an editor for, or beta readers for. The reviewer, that is not their job, to tell you how you could improve upon or what you should put in place of such and such. So it's a weird conversation, and I just don't like it. Obviously, he's very popular. His audience agrees with everything he says, and that's fine. And I think that you have every right to read reviews and comment on reviews of other books because you're primarily a reader and reviewer. However, I don't think that he, as an author of Breach of Peace, should go into Breach of Peace reviews and comment on them and or make video responses to people's criticisms of his book. I think that's weird. So that's just me. I don't know if any of his fan base is going to come watch this video, but just know that if you get nasty in the comments, I have no problem blocking or comment or hiding your ass, because I don't have time for that. Like, you can have your difference of opinions. We can talk nicely in the comments. You can be respectful, but I will not tolerate nasty ass comments. I'm not having it. So that was just my opinion. I would love to know your thought on like the author versus reviewer thing. And like, do you think he's right in his opinion? Because I am very anti encouraging authors to go into readers and reviewer spaces. Nah, dog. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I would love to know what you think of that. I still have other things, but like my throat's hurting. It's lunchtime. And this last portion got me riled up. So I'll link those Twitter threads down below. Any other information, the videos, Daniel's videos, if you want to watch them to see what he said. So if I said it was a direct quote, it was a direct quote. The other things were paraphrased. So don't come for me if I didn't say exactly how he said it. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my description box that has all the links that I mentioned, links to my social media, issues going on around the world, and ways to help and ways to support my channel. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. I know this is embarrassing, but I miss America sometimes. Don't tell nobody. It's not a snack, Nigel. Nene, can I have a kiss? Thank you. Still there? Hey, great. So, this week's book you need to read. So I'm talking about The Red Pyramid by Uncle Rick. So Percy Jackson gets a lot of hype. People talk about like Magnus Chase and stuff, but we need to talk about the Kane Chronicles. Okay, this is a trilogy. It's Egyptian mythology. It's amazing, and I need y'all to read it. Okay, like, it's okay if you love Percy Jackson, that's fine, but y'all need to read the Kane Chronicles because I don't hear him getting enough love. Okay, it's an amazing middle grade trilogy. So pick it up, please.